Hi everybody, welcome to this first session of a series of meetings and talks about psychology. So you are listening to the first talk about psychology journeys, and I'm Dr. Barbara Renzi, and today we are going to speak about Jung and the shadow, which is a very interesting topic. I'm here with Dr. Niloufar, and she is an expert in English and American literature. So because we are going today to couple two things, Jung and a piece of literature, because literature helps us to understand ourselves. So it's the first type of psychology, along with myth and stories. So please, Dr. Niloufar.
Hi everybody. Thank you very much, Dr. Barbara, for this invitation and of course the hot topic that you have chosen. Of course, Jung is famous and I think that everybody knows him because of the new method of psychoanalysis that he established. That is the analytical psychology, which is different from the previous methods that we had, specifically the psychoanalysis. That in this method, Jung established a new way by investigating and considering the psyche through the exploration of collective unconscious, I can say, or involvement of universal myths, archetypes, and symbols. Of course, this 20th century psychiatrist is very famous, and he is a little bit different from whatever his master, I can say, Freud taught him. And the story that you have chosen is also very, very relevant to the topic that you have chosen. I hope that all our audience will enjoy it and get benefit of this discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. Before going deep into the stories, which it's actually, I'm going to reveal it now at this point, is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We're going to speak about Jungian psychologists now. Yes, he's an analytical psychologist, and I think this is very interesting, no? And what he was speaking about, different from Freud, as you mentioned, he was speaking about this collective unconscious. Okay, collective unconscious, which is something that we share. So we are all humans. There is just one human race, if you want to talk in these terms. We are all humans, and inside of us, there are stories, myths, symbols that we share. Okay, so we are all together in these things, and you know, sometimes there is this metaphor of genotype and phenotype. Imagine that all these stories are sort of this is a metaphor, an analogy. So there are sort of a genotype that we all have because of our evolution. We are all the same. Our experiences as primitive people, and then you know, when we move along and we become Homo sapiens, you know, it comes from it. So our evolutionary past. So step by step we build this, and there are all these archetypes. So the great mother, and then we have the old person who knows lots of things and can help us, and we have the shadow. So they are shared. And the phenotype is all these stories, how they change according to the countries, according to the culture. But inside we have elements that are always the same. So we have these shadows, which is a collective, and it can be personal. Jung was saying, you know, what is what we want to reach in our life? We want to become ourselves. Okay, so do you want to become famous? Are you happy when you can become famous? Are you happy when you know you achieve lots of different things? You buy lots of stuff. It says no. We have to become ourselves. How do we become ourselves? We put together these things which is our ego, what we know consciously, with things what we don't accept unconsciously. This is actually the shadow. The shadow, you know, in life. If you look at the day, we need the light and we need the dark. And together, we have a day. So it's for ourselves inside, we need the light and we have the shadow. And shadow is not always something negative, can be also something positive, you know, something that, you know, our society doesn't accept of us, and we put it there, saying it's not there, but then it's going to cause problems. What do you think about this?
If you want to make it simple to everybody to understand it, probably we can consider our ego or our self as an individual that is touchable, that everybody knows this person. But our shadow, as Jung refers to, or our dark part, or the characteristics that we do not like, can be considered as this person's shadow. It means that nobody can touch it, but it exists. In this way, we cannot separate a person, an individual, from his shadow. It means that there is a combination. They are always together. We cannot ignore it, although sometimes the individual do not believe that his shadow is with him. But in reality, shadow and the self, or the ego and the dark side, are always accompanying each other. I think that it helps to understand it better, that although the self or the ego tries to repress and ignore the characteristics that culturally or socially are not acceptable, but they exist. And whatever the self does cannot remove these characteristics.
That's true, I agree. Yeah. And I don't know if it happens to you, happened to me. I mean, it's like a normal. There is a person that you find maybe, oh, I don't like this person very much. If I'm a bit uncomfortable, no, you have this feeling of finding a little uncomfortable. And perhaps one of the reasons is that you are projecting this person, your shadow, the things that you don't want to see yourself, they are there, and this person is embracing them, and you say, oh, I don't like that, I don't like this person, and because you are projecting this shadow. And actually, if you don't explore it, and if you don't do shadow work, which means you don't explore it, you don't try to understand, you know, this part of yourself, it's going to emerge in a way or the other, and it's going to put you down, you know, it's going to, you know, put obstacle in front of you, and, you know, and maybe you want to reach a certain goal in your life, and you find these obstacles that are there because of you, and it's the shadows coming. So you always have to confront a part of yourself. They can be, you know, nice as well. You know, maybe you have a particular ability, but in your family this ability was, like, you know, frowned upon, and you think, oh no, I don't have this ability, no? You know, if in your family they really wanted you to be, you know, handy person that can do everything with the hands, and you have this, you know, intellectual abilities, you know, you just say, I'm not sure, I'm not sure I can do that. No, I don't do that. It's there, it's back. But it's coming through, and it's putting obstacle in front of you, and, you know, that's...
Yeah. Very nice. And if we want to find where and when this shadow is created, we can refer to the fact that by socialization, every individual, every kid starts to create his shadow. It means that from the smallest unit of society, that is the family, we learn the codes, I can say, or the acceptable part of the character. It is because of this that in every culture or in every nation, there are different dark parts and different parts that are acceptable that we add to our ego. And from the beginning, they teach us, our parents teach us, and the society at school, they teach us how to behave, what is good, what is bad. And in this way, we create our ego as well as our shadow. And the interesting thing is that this is the outside impact that we create our shadow. There is something internal as well. As we can see, even among siblings, they have different characters. They have different behaviors. And it goes back to the personal judgment, or I can say a kind of internal judgment that every individual finds some behaviors better, some behaviors not good to show. And as we always try to show our best, we try to have a very strong ego. And in that way, we have probably more items in our shadow, more characters or characteristics that we want to be hidden.
Yes, true.
Yeah?
Yeah, and then we have this idea, which is the persona, which is a mask that we put on because we have to fit in the society, and everybody wants to be loved and admired. So we have this persona, and every characteristic that is in the shadow is not going to be there. I mean, how many of you, maybe we can discuss this later on, but for example, are artistic. But this is a society that wants you to be, more, mathematical minded and everything else. So maybe you don't explore this artistic side. But to be mathematical minded, to do science, you have to be creative. It's a creation, so the creativity is so important. And if you don't explore your artistic side, you cannot be creative in your mathematical, business, or other sides. So, and Jung says, we have to become a whole, because if we don't look at these things, we have only this mask, which is a persona coming from Greek theaters, with this persona with mask that we have on. We cannot, explore totally ourselves. And I know it's hard, it's hard work, but, it is beauty, and it's, it's good for you at the end,
Yeah, I do agree that shadow is not always negative. Sometimes shadow can lead in creativity, more strength, and characteristics that we do not expect ourselves to show. It means that when we confront our shadow, probably we can find positive points in it as well.
Yeah, that's true. And there are different ways to confront our shadow. And one of these is imaginative work, maybe if you are, if you always dream or you are scared of something, you just relax yourself, maybe with a nice cup of tea and, lovely cup of tea, a candle. You relax yourself and you let your imagination go on, and your imagination goes, and maybe you confront a part of yourself, Maybe you imagine these scary things that you are, we have all fears, would be, I mean, we are all honest people, so we should be honest, everybody has fears. So it's a way maybe to confront our fears. Maybe if you dream always something scary, you imagine these shadows having a form, maybe it's a bird, and then you say, what kind of bird, sometimes a dark bird, and you speak with this ghost of yours, and and then in this way it highlights or the fears. What are you fearful of? Sometimes we don't say that to ourselves, and it becomes there, no? Or maybe we can do dream work, which is during the work Freud was doing interpretation, but here we do amplification, which means there are these symbols that are everywhere. If you dream about a tree or you dream about a snake, so you just look at you take the dictionary, etymological dictionary, you see what does it mean bird in my language, and you start to understand it. What kind of famous birds are in different myths, and or what is a snake? What does it mean a snake? A tree, we know that's a tree of life. What does it mean a cat? When women dreams cats, usually, cats are a symbol of love or, flourishing. So you just do that, and then you see, what are these symbols? Tell to me. And then this is another way. Or if you dream of an old woman who is very much, she knows about life. Imagine these old women in the villages, that at the time our parents, grandparents went to them to ask advice, because they lived many years and they know more. So maybe I need advice. Maybe I need something that is helping me in this period of time.
Yeah. Very nice. I think that being in a multicultural environment, like the environment that we have at BSBI, also helps to confront shadows. As we know that in every culture, as we referred in the past, some minutes ago I mean, or in every society, the shadow is constructed according to the restrictions and goods and bads in that society. Probably being in a multicultural society helps us to know that, for example, whatever in my culture was bad and I hid it in my shadow is not in other cultures like this.
Yes,
and
sure.
Probably it can be another way of confrontation, these dark sides, or I don't know, all of them are not dark. It means that we have two poles, light and dark, or positive and negative, and because of this they are like this. I think that on the scale there are many of them. Even regarding the shadow, they are not in the end of this pole. Probably they are closer to the light. You know, we cannot define degrees for these items that we hide in our shadow. But I think that probably this multicultural environment helps us to confront our shadows as well.
Yeah, multicultural environment are extremely important, and yeah, there is no doubt about that, because we see different options, different way of looking at reality, and you know, and we do a bit of cross culture, which is important to live in this society, because we need to be a bit culturally intelligent, and this happens when we meet people and we travel from different backgrounds. It's extremely important. Yeah, because there is the personal shadow and there is also the collective shadows. And the collective shadows sometimes bring up, you know, racism, all these kind of things that you're talking about. And it's very interesting, you know, maybe a culture doesn't say, you know, says, oh, you know, here works everything fine, there doesn't work fine. And so, and maybe you don't want to say openly, but it's in your shadow. So it's very important. The multicultural, it's actually it's extremely important. It's one of the most things. But going back to our literature, because we have a literature expert here. So we're going to speak about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I'm pretty sure that you know the book. And you know, and it was 1886, so it's a very old book, and you know, and Louis Stevenson wrote it, and everybody's a Gothic novel, and it's very interesting how this old book brings up a bit of Jung there, because we have you know, there are few characters, and the book is written in different perspective, but there is this lawyer who is sort of investigating the case of Mr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, that are two, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, they are there, and there are strange things happening in the city of London. What are these strange things? First of all, there is this man is stamping on a little girl, which is terrible. And then after a few times, there is also a murder. And in the book, practically we discover that Dr. Jekyll is a very nice man, is very successful and everything else. But as this character emerging outside himself, transforming himself physically as well, no? Becoming ugly and everything else, and so there is this transformation after he take some chemical potions, and at the beginning he find it like okay, that's cool, you know, I become him for a while, I take this potion, become him for a while, and I can do all of different things, and I feel liberated. And then he was reverting to himself. So it was, you know, we have the light and the dark, not together as a whole, but separated by this chemical potion. And at the end of the story, you know, he becomes Mr. Hyde, becomes this creature that do lots of bad stuff without taking the potion, because this dark side, in this case the shadow is all the negative, this dark side is taken over him completely. And you know, and we have this lawyer, Mr. Utterson, that is discover everything at the end, because Dr. Jekyll has left everything to Mr. Hyde. So, and you know, it's a beautiful novel, and actually I find that I'm ruined in telling you like this, but it's a very beautiful novel. And
I think that the writer knew about analytical psychological in advance, you know, because the way he managed the book and he characterized the characters show it. The issue in this book is that I can say the problem that Dr. Jekyll faces is that he never tries to confront his shadow. if we confront our shadow, if we know about our bad side, if we know our bad characteristics, and try to create a kind of balance, or like a crying kid, take care of our dark side, in that way we can help our psyche to be a healthy one.
Yes.
The problem with Dr. Jekyll is that he tries to throw away his shadow. And in the way that he tries to create a character separate from himself, you know, the degree of not accepting his shadow is in a way that he creates another character separate from himself. And in this way we see that as the time passes by, this shadow becomes stronger, 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 and now Dr. Jekyll has no control over Mr. Hyde. And in this way we see that this character, this dark side, this shadowy part becomes so strong that conquers the person. And step after step he has to take more potion to be able to develop that character that he didn't like. And we know that in the society, Dr. Jekyll, as you said, he is a moral person, respectful person. Everybody loves his character. On the other hand, we see that Mr. Hyde is immoral. He goes for immoral actions and shows lack of respect in the society. This is one of the mistakes that I think Dr. Jekyll did, and it is a good lesson for all of us, as we started this session with it, that we always should confront our dark side or shadow to be able to stay a healthy person.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, in our society we say that we shouldn't become angry, you know, but anger is, for example, a normal reaction, is actually an evolutionary reaction if you want to look at it from a psychological point of view. So if we suppress always, no, and we don't learn to let it emerge in a kind of positive way, you know, just to affirm ourselves, affirm our rights, no, then we become angry totally, and we have this outburst that don't mean anything, you know, and this is can be a sort of comparison, like putting your anger down, putting there, you know, because we shouldn't be angry, we should always be nice. No, we shouldn't always be nice, you know, we should always be respectful, but you know, when somebody stamps on you, you should be able to say, okay, like, I didn't like it. I think, you know, you're doing something wrong here. And instead we become this Mr. Hyde, and we come, you know, attacking people and doing stuff that we shouldn't do it, you know, for our burst of anger in this moment. And, yeah. And
yeah, the interesting thing in this story is that even when the writer tries to create his characters, he refers to this character as Mr. Hyde.
yeah.
I tell you, it seems as if he knew about this method of psychoanalysis.
Yeah, I think literature is fantastic. I think artists sometimes pathways, no? You know, also contemporary art that it's more difficult to understand, but because it's not, doesn't want to give us the impression of being something nice, enjoyable, but it wants us to think, you know, great artists can do that. They are not really only skilled in doing writing or only skilled in doing beautiful work, but they have this way, this insight in things that let us think.
Yeah.
So I think
this method of psychoanalysis is not only applicable in literature. I think that it can be applied to religions, art, I don't know, music. In all different fields, it can be applied as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're totally right. I mean, we should appreciate art a bit more, and maybe it's also good art, literature, and all these different things, just to make our shadow to emerge. You know, imagine in front of a picture, so you can speak in front of a you know, big nice picture. You speak about it with nice music. You can, you know, confront your shadows better as well. Yes, I agree totally.
Very nice. Thank you very much. And now, if you want to ask our students questions, or they have questions,
yeah, would
probably
be great.
you are ready to reply.
Yeah. Do you have any questions about your shadow? I can tell you about mine. You know, I was telling her before as well that you know, I like painting and writing, but you know, I was kind of something that you shouldn't spend time with. It's a waste of time. So I put it aside for many years, and now that I do it, I'm happier, and I focus more when I have to do a lecture, when because this is out. Do you have any shadows that you want to tell us, or anything you would like to tell us, or also your students here that are back here? Do you have any questions at all?
Do you have any questions? Do you want us to ask you questions? Yes, please. Oh, wait a second.
So we have the lovely Helena here. She's one of my best students. Okay.
Sorry. Hello, guys. How psychology try to explain about the dream that we have? Like you said about our symbols, that when we sleep and we dream with snakes or something like that, has a symbol. Every dream has a meaning, because sometimes like we have dreams that is nightmares and everything. So how psychologists see all this part of our brain?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting question. Oh, there are different schools of psychology. Let's focus here on analytic psychology, what Carl Jung says, and then there are different schools, logical. Dreams have different, are seen in different light according to the schools. According to Jung, it's very important. It's your unconscious that try to speak with you, and everything that is in your dream is you. So if you dream about a room, and in this room you meet a tree, speaking tree, something like that. So the room is yourself. The tree is yourself. Everything is yourself in the dream, according to you. And what you have to do is write them as soon as you wake up. Write them to remember everything, because then they fade away, right? And then try to understand. It's also, the work. It's a sort of anthropological work. Try to understand what these symbols has to do, with different culture, with your culture in particular. Looking at dictionaries, looking at etymological dictionaries, looking at what is you're from Brazil, no? Right? Yeah. So and then what has this symbol has to do with you, and then you start analyzing why is this important, because you know why it's important. I cannot know, you are the expert of yourself, so you know why this symbol is so important to me, and you start doing that, and then step by step. Okay. You can, yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions?
No other questions, please.
I'm not a student. I'm not a student anymore. I actually have a question as such. It's more like a thought or comment. I'm not in the field, so my field is artificial intelligence. So, but always, when you talk about psychology, you think about artificial sort of thoughts, what you have now in the large language models. I was just thinking, again, it's not a question, so you don't have to answer because there is no question. When the first large language models came out and they were unfiltered, you had all these very negative results or text coming out. I was just thinking, maybe this was the way to sort of release the shadows of humanity in a way. Mm-hmm. Like, you have all this text which has been analyzed automatically all over the web from chats and people, just writing without any fear, because they could not be identified, so they could write everything that was coming to their mind, especially the dark sides. So I was thinking maybe this could be a way. Now it's impossible, but with the unfiltered kind of models, you could think of a way to find out or analyze the shadows of humanity and see what actually is in common from the dark side for all different kinds of cultures.
Yeah, it's nice because the persona is not present at that moment and probably people feel much more comfortable to convey whatever they want, or bring some characteristics from the shadow to show it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think actually so. You know, I think it's a really good comment actually. And I was thinking, I don't know, maybe sometimes I waste my time on Facebook or this, you know, and you know, you have these people who write lots of angry things to people that they don't know. Actually, they get really angry. First of all, I think it's like Batson says, it's a way of becoming, you know, themselves against the others, you know, so they get angry for this. But the other thing is that, you know, they want to release something, you know, and they cannot, because of their persona, they cannot release it. And it's a way to take it out, probably. So maybe it's, you're right, it's a shadow.
Yeah, social media provides this, this manifestation of shadow, I think, because we see that many people have many different fake IDs. Why they have fake IDs?
Yeah.
Because they want to show something that they cannot show it as their ego wants to show.
That's
you
true.
know?
That's what I think.
Yeah.
And they should do shadow work.
Yeah, yeah. Because of this, you can never trust multimedia, I think.
I know.
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah. Do we have any other questions? Very
Yes,
good.
please.
She's not a student smile. Very happy you're here.
I don't even know how to formulate it because I didn't have enough time to think of it. Does the shadow self, you think, have like a conscience or something like that? Meaning, how do I know or differentiate, or even law or biology or the medical field? What if someone is just rude or bad, or it's just a normal person doing a bad thing? Like, how do I differentiate, I don't know, someone's shadow self doing things or just doing bad things? Do you know what I mean? Like, or does the shadow self have a conscience? Like, is it if the shadow self does something bad, like the book that you were talking about, does it do that like consciously, knowing that it's a bad thing? But then the question gets bigger, like, is there actually a bad thing, or is it just like a concept of us making it, you know, like culturally or in the nation acceptable? Or do you get what I mean, kind of?
Yeah, I think it's a very broad philosophical question. What
Yeah.
is good, what is bad? How can we
Yeah.
distinguish between good and bad? I think you cannot, because you don't know the person. Actually, it's very difficult to understand. You don't know the person, and regarding a culture, a country, you can see it, you know, how they present themselves. If they present them, you know, as really tolerant and tolerant, actually inclusive. Tolerant, it's a word that I don't like so much, inclusive and everything else. And then you see in the news as something else. So in the country it's easy, no, because they have a persona which is, it goes out, it's like publicity. And then if you see that actually there are laws and things that don't do that. For the person, you don't know that, but for yourself, you kind of try to learn what is your shadow. That's what I think. And then what is bad and good, maybe we can do.
Yeah, in reality, shadow is always unconscious. Okay? Shadow is unconscious. Persona or ego is conscious. We try to improve and show our ego, not our shadow. Okay? Shadow is unconscious. But regarding the fact that you told us, in many cultures, in many societies, some characteristics are appreciated. You know, for example, that person that is, you use the word rude, yeah? Okay. Probably in the society that this person comes from, being rude is a good characteristic. It means that you can fight for your right. You are not a person who is very timid to go for the right. You are brave. Probably they create a kind of correlation between being brave and being rude. Okay, the borderline doesn't exist. We do not know. Probably as this person intentionally shows rudeness, it comes from the background. I know a mother that paid €1 to her kid whenever the kid hit other children in the kindergarten.
Wow.
Believe me, you see which behavior is it. Societies are different.
Yeah, because it depends, you know.
Yeah.
we learn here cross-cultural management. So it's a part of our curriculum BSBI, and we know now there are also more direct culture, less direct culture. You know, it's we learn all of this, no?
Yeah.
Hofstede, entrepreneur. Let's go.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
question.
you.
So the profile name GH asks, should we try to help those who act bad or absolutely avoid them? Is it true some people can never be helped?
Wow, this is a big question.
Yeah.
I think, may I start answering?
Yes, of course.
I think the person who asked the question, first of all, thank you both. I think you have to start to think about yourself first thing. You are not a helper of the world, so you cannot just fix everybody that you meet. And I think you have to be assertive enough and to have a sort of border that this person doesn't do something bad to you. And then when you are assertive, you are teaching why you're assertive, you construct a border. And when you construct a border, you give him a lesson or her a lesson that it shouldn't be rude. And then said that it's very difficult to be assertive. It's not easy. It's a process that you have to learn. And especially, it depends on the culture, especially for women, sometimes it's more difficult because we are sometimes taught that we always be nice and help people, no? According to different culture, we have this, no? So I know it's very difficult. I find it difficult personally.
Yeah.
It takes me lots. It's a toll for me, but we have to learn. So let's learn it together.
I think that all people can be helped, but it depends on the occasion that they try to understand their shadow, the deficiencies or dark part or the characteristics that doesn't help in the society. And in that way, when I know my shadow, when I know my dark part, when I know which suffers me, in that way, when I'm ready, I can receive help. Otherwise, no. When somebody tells it, Niloufar, you have this bad characteristic, I ignore, because it is in my unconscious. I have never confronted this characteristic, and because of this, I ignore it. People should be ready to understand and confront their shadow, and in that way, when they reach to this stage, they can ask for experts to receive help.
Yes, I agree.
There is a follow-up question from the same person, and I think it's a very big question. What is the best way to overcome a past trauma?
Wow. So first of all, you don't overcome the trauma, you build around it. As you don't overcome when somebody, unfortunately we lose people in our life, you build on it. It's always there, you build on it. So you never overcome it. It's part of yourself, a part of your life, and you learn to live it and to become somebody else. So, and then, this is a really big question, but this is the first point.
Yeah, I think that dealing with traumas and receiving help in this regard only teaches us how to look at it, how not to be hurt so much as we were hurt in the past. We cannot recover it.
Yeah, so it's something that is part of your stories, and if it's too big, you have to go speak with somebody. Logically, you cannot do on your own. It's part of your stories, and will be always part, and you become somebody else, for sure. But your what is inside you will stay the same, but you change you don't overcome it. As when somebody dies, we all lose parents and friends. This is life. They are always with us, and before there were the idea that there were different steps, but now it's imagine that sometimes I think it's through images, and I think images help us. They are we build circle around them, around who we missed, and they become part of ourselves. But building the circle, we just construct a different kind of. Imagine there was a base that was completely straight, and then we have this this black thing, which is somebody who we lost, and we build a different base, which is more round around it. We build a circle around it. We become a different kind of base.
So it's also feeding the shadow.
Hmm?
It's also feeding the shadow.
No, it's not feeding the shadow. Is if we don't deal with it, yeah, you're right. If we don't deal with it, it's feeding the shadow because it's part of it. But if we deal with it, it's
Confrontation.
We confront it. We become a different part of. Yes, you're right.
Probably after this session, you think about many things, and you can find many things inside yourselves. But don't be scary. All of us are a package that has both parts, persona and shadow. We shouldn't be afraid. We should only try to confront it in a healthy way. And if we feel helpless, immediately you can ask for help, okay, from experts. But don't think that there are people with no shadow in the world. It is very natural, very normal. And the purpose today was only to open this idea or open this lock to you to think about yourselves more deeply.
Yeah, I think she's perfectly, yeah, you said it perfectly. You said, you have a question? Okay, sorry, wait.
Hi, good afternoon. Only just a simple question. Is it maybe can think that the shadow can be our true self?
Our true self,
Yes.
yeah. It can be a very big part, all together become our true selves. So when you become whole, all together become, it's part of ourselves, the shadow. So it's part of us, There is not something that is true, something that is false. You can see, but it's part of us, and it's very important to become whole. Otherwise, it's going to hinder ourselves. If we don't acknowledge it, it's going to hinder ourselves in different ways. Have you ever met a very smart person that never reached what he or she wanted? Probably he or she never did a shadow work. So yeah, it's very important to bring it into light. And again, there can be, also very positive characteristics. And the example before about women, no? Sometimes women are said that you shouldn't be assertive, you shouldn't, should always be care, or you shouldn't. In the past, women were not doing science. We had a lot of important, science-minded women, or women shouldn't do business, and we have lots of business-minded women, and so there are positive characteristics as well, and it's very important to become whole. So they are all part of yourself. There is no such a thing as true or false self. All part of who you are. Thank you for the question. It's great.
I have a question. Okay, hi. At the beginning, you have explained that like a day has a dark and a light that makes a day, like scientifically. So like in psychology, if we talk about our inner self, we also have the like dark side and a bright side. So as we know in real life, like the darkness consumes the light, no matter what. So darkness are the greater than the light. So is it the same way that works with us, that bad things or dark side overtakes our goodness and on us easier than the good? If it is, then how a person should balance the both things, since it's a life that makes both things?
Actually, it's a fantastic question.
Yes,
And the idea of dark here, it's like, you see, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So Hyde, dark, it's more like that is hidden, that you don't want to see it. No, it's not me, it's not me. I don't want to see it, And the shadow, yeah, it's you. No, it's not me. It's like a sort of a dialogue. So when this dark part can have positive, negative characteristic, you don't want to see, it's consuming your life, and this, you're right, it's a good image, it's consuming your life more and more because you are fighting not to bring it to the light, because it's there, it's you. So all your energy is like, go away, it's not me, go away. So it's like a fight, no? That's
So
it.
we could say darkness are like more greater than the light.
No, I'm sorry if I say no. I don't want to say that, but
Yeah, they should confront each other. A person, an individual, should always let the darker part, I told you it is not absolute darkness, the characteristic that we do not like, that I call this part, instead of, I have my own idea, it is the innocent part of ourself. Why innocent? Because it is not inherited, and other people, the society, our parents, bigger society, decides for us. Because you see that if you're born in your country, your shadow is built in another way compared to the time that you were born in another country, okay, in another city or country, in another family, make it smaller. Even among siblings, the period that the parents have the first child, after 5 years, they have the second child, their behavior is different. Probably the norms are a little bit different because of the siblings are different, okay? Because of this, I say that it is innocent part of ourselves. We have no idea, no power over it, okay? But we should let this part, we should accept it. We should open our arms, accept it. It is me, unconscious me, innocent me. I have to accept it with open arms and try to confront my ego, the person that I want to be in the society, the mask I wear. I should accept it and confront it. Okay? In that way, I can create a kind of balance. I know my dark part. If I want, I modify some of them. If I do not want, I keep them firmly, but I know that I have them. It is exactly like a piece of stone in your shoes. You know, you have it, but you walk with it. You know how to handle it. But sometimes you prefer to stop, remove it, continue walking.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
So my question is with regards to shadow work. I wanted to ask, me as like myself, right? A lot of people have told me that I'm a people pleaser because I find it very hard to say no to people regardless of who they are. And for example, this morning I woke up at 10 o'clock, right? I got ready for the day and I went to my mother and my mom was like, Sebastian, can you please go buy sugar? Because we don't have any sugar in the house because it didn't come with the groceries. So I was like, okay, I'm feeling sick. I really don't want to go. And then she was like, okay, don't worry about it. But now, me being a people pleaser, I felt upset at myself for saying no, and I felt as if I was being sort of selfish, right? So then I got dressed and I went down and I bought the sugar. And I came back and I was like, here's your sugar, mom, you know? So I wanted to ask, in regards to shadow work, how would you work on yourself in order to combat this sort of like cognitive dissonance in your behavior, like the way you feel guilty for doing something or not doing something, you know?
I think role play is a great thing. You know, when you are in the therapist room, and this is very common. There are, you know, don't feel ashamed because it's a common thing. Lots of lovely people have this thing. It's you have to do role play, and during the role play, it's a sort of an exercise. At the end, you will learn to say no. Yeah. So it's a role play exercises. They will teach you, and maybe writing down when you have done something that you couldn't do it. You know, next time you see if something happened, you know, I can say no. And the other thing is that you know, there are also your needs, not just the needs of the others, and maybe you have to learn to respect your needs as well, apart from the needs of the other. If you're really tired, maybe you've been working hard the day before, it's practically a personal need, and you know. So I think there is a bit of work there on what is my need, what is the need of the other. But you know, usually role play exercise like the one you do in language classes. You know, if you learn a different language, Very
The
useful.
relationship between parents and children is a little bit complicated. You know why? Because I am also a mother, okay? Parents do not know that these children are completely separate individuals. We as parents unconsciously think that we own these children, literally. And sometimes our expectations are higher than it should be, okay? Never feel bad, never talk to your mom, never let your parents to touch your conscience, okay? This feeling of being guilty is the worst feeling that parents mostly let the children to experience, okay? A person decides to be a parent, a pair. Okay, they decided they should sacrifice their life for the children. But children are individuals. It is not a deal, you know? Always feel free and freely practice to say no to your parents, and after that in the society you can say no to other people. Okay? Feel free.
Yeah,
And
thank
then
you.
it depends also what kind of archetype is there. Maybe you have to make emerge another archetype, but this we're going to speak another time.
Yeah.
They're different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you wanted a question, right?
It's not necessary to the class.
For the people online.
Okay, so please just correct me. We just describe things with the opposition, like we describe light with the darkness and darkness with the light, okay? You said like darkness also consumes the light, but darkness is out of light. So if there's any light, there is no darkness then. Light consumes the darkness. So if I describe myself so serious, my shadow also can be a funny person, like, or the opposite. Maybe I'm so funny, I'm just making jokes, and there's a serious person inside of me. So it doesn't need to be bad or innocent or guilty. It's just different than each other. And we also have this all opposite sides of everything, negativity and positivity. So I prefer to describe it not the dark or light, but the both sides we have. But which part will be dominant, it just depends on the situation, the circumstances. So I choose. Is it right?
No, you do not choose. The unconscious comes freely. For example, this social media that Julia referred to is the place that your unconscious feels free to come to the stage.
Oh,
Okay?
I also believe that every being is a decision. Okay, so I can decide to be happy. I can decide to allow my feelings or not. So I decide to get angry or not. And I decide also my responses. I can feel anger, but I choose my responses. So I can ignore my awareness and I can blame others for the situation. I also can be aware of the situation and I take the responsibility. So, wrong or not, but I believe that, yeah, we all choosing these
No,
things.
probably you know how to confront your shadow and your ego. No?
Yeah, maybe you have done
Probably.
already shadows work. I mean, you're there, you've done, it's a
Yeah.
continuous thing. You've already done shadows work, but sometimes, you know, the shadows come back. You've probably already done the shadow work and you know everything about yourself, but it's true that the shadow work, you have to do it all around your life. You know, it depends on the person, but there is always this unconscious part, I personally believe, that is coming.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I also have a question. How do we do the shadows work? Because also relating to the question of one of the students, when he said, well, there is more dark, yeah? So I think, okay, you mentioned thinking about the dreams and the art, yeah, but also how we interpret things. For you say, oh, there is more dark, but this is your interpretation, yeah? Why do you think there is more dark? Yeah, then you may think, okay, why do I think that there is more dark, right? So what do you think? My question is, what are the ways? How do we do the shadow work?
The
Thank
shadow
you.
work is, there are different techniques. Okay, sometimes you can start on your own. So I told you about dreams, amplifying the dreams, or active imagination. Something scare you, and you try to imagine what it is. You give a form, or maybe it's a bird. What kind of bird it is? You can try to put it on. But sometimes it's also speaking with your archetypes. You have to know what archetypes are in us. So for Jung, we have shadow is one of the archetypes. We have lots of different archetypes in our. There is the old man he knows everything. The old woman that he knows everything, and then you have the Joker is a bit like Mercury that tricks. And they have the mother that can be the good mother, but also the bad mother, the people who hurt themselves. And you speak with your archetype. You do a dialogue with your archetypes. And sometimes to do shadow work, you need also a therapist when it's really, it depends on yourself. But there is also this kind of thing, imagining that you speak with your archetype, because we have to have equilibrium in ourselves. We cannot be, sometimes as we live more in the West, there are analyzed archetypes through, Greek gods and goddesses. Everybody knows Venus, sometimes Venus is too much, and you need a bit of another archetype to balance it. So there are different one, and, also, yeah. It's just sometimes the imagination is very important. That this dialogue that goes through.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, there is a question.
Okay, I don't know if it's a question or maybe it's a query. At some point, someone being called bipolar or schizophrenic or something started as a shadow. How does one, and there's someone who has overcome that. There are two faces, there are two sides of a coin. So there's someone who has overcome the shadow and is a good person living his own life. And there's someone who is schizophrenic, bipolar, everything. How does that differentiate? Because it started as a shadow, I believe.
And yes, I believe Jung was very interesting, and it's very good to do therapeutic work with Jung. But I'm also a psychologist, and actually I teach that as well. And I use the DSM-5 and the ICD 10 and 11 now to do things. So these are health issues. When you are schizophrenic or bipolar, are health issues, and you have to speak with a psychiatrist or neurologist. And there are lots of different things that can help the person that has these things. And logically can do shadows work as well. Why not? There are treatable issues for sure. There are steps you have to do, precise step, and particular medicine that you have to take. And it's also true that the DSM-5, it's very useful because different people that come from different areas of science, psychologists, social workers, psychiatrists can speak together. And it's also good because psychiatrists that is, for example, I'm Italian, come from Italy, and one in US, they can speak together. They have the same languages. But it's also true that at the beginning was more sort of, still has a bit of Western look, and doesn't know that in different cultures we do things differently. So if you speak with a psychiatrist or neurologist, the person who has this problematic decided has to make sure that it says like, I come from this culture. You have to speak with somebody that knows about the culture as well. So I think there are two different things in this respect.
I agree, yeah.
There are two questions. Do you have time online?
I don't know. I think
Let's go shortly to them. After that.
Okay. So there is Manu who is asking, what practical way you recommend to start understanding or making the shadow more conscious? I mean, I'm here now and want to know what my shadow begins. What can I do to begin this work? And the other question is from Farzad Ashtari, saying what would be the best response to rudeness? To rudeness.
Rudeness of other people?
I think so. I don't think he asked himself. So. How can I be rude to everyone?
I think that the second question was answered because we know that in some countries, some cultures, some societies, rudeness is privileged, you know, because they say that you can defend your rights. And okay, it means that if we find that it is basically coming from the society or the culture that the person is coming from, we should, if we are very close, we should inform the person that probably you need to modify it. And
the borders.
Yeah, we can find other friends that are not rude according to my culture. Probably that person from the same culture who is again rude finds it very normal. Okay, we can choose people. We are not stick to each other. You know, this is one solution. And
yeah,
for the first question,
then having always a border.
Yeah.
You know, don't. It's important that they respect the border. And also the first question was a bit answer because you have active imagination, as I told you before. The example of a person who has always fear, dream analysis, and speaking with the archetypes. And you know, you can start with doing these three things, and then if it's not enough, you go with somebody who's Jungian and can help you.
thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Barbara.
Thank you so much. It was fantastic.
It was a very lovely session. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, bye everybody. Say bye to everybody.
Thanks
Thank you
for
so much.
participation. This is very nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It was a bit too long, I think, no?
No, it was, we were on time, yeah?
Is it live?
Pardon me?
You don't know whether it's still live.
No, I think that we liked it.
Thank you so much.